This week, many Mass Affluent retirees are struggling to pay the bills each month. Today, we're going to examine one couple story that illustrates how even retirees with, yes, a sizable nest egg can feel financially strained, and how the strategic use of home equity could help transform their situation. We'll dive into all the details right after this short message from our sponsor.
Liberty Reverse wants to help you grow your reverse mortgage business with our proprietary Equity IQ product suite. Equity IQ gives your borrowers access to more funds, lowers their upfront costs, and expands eligibility for home purchases. Learn more at partners.libertyreversemortgage.com today. This ad is intended for mortgage professionals only and is not a consumer solicitation. PHH Mortgage, doing business as Liberty Reverse Mortgage, is an equal housing lender. NMLS number 2726.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. On paper, Denise and Carl appeared to be the picture of financial success. That, according to a recent column found in Money Talks News. They were 62 and 63 and had nearly $900,000 in their retirement savings. And best of all, they owned their home outright. That's right, no mortgage, no rent, just peace of mind, or at least so they thought. But despite doing everything right just before they retired, they found themselves later living paycheck to paycheck. And their checking account was hovering just near zero, with balance transfers and credit cards that were maxed out. And more often than not, they had to wait until the next deposit before they could even buy groceries. So how could this happen with a couple that had saved so much? And how can a couple with nearly $1 million in assets and retirement savings and no housing debt feel financially anxious each and every month? Sadly, such a scenario is painfully familiar. Once their kids left home, Denise and Carl upgraded their lifestyle. New furniture, a vacation, newer cars, and all seemed to be modest upgrades, at least to them. They felt it was justified. However, over time, the burden of new monthly payments, while inflation was quietly pushing up the cost of living for groceries and utilities and insurance, it ended up leaving them cash poor. Their income, meanwhile, was actually shrinking and inconsistent. Carl's contracting work had slowed down, and Denise's part-time job offered fewer hours. And before long, they were now juggling $25,000 in credit card debt, paying over $600 a month in just interest alone. And they repeatedly had dipped into their savings account just to stay afloat. Then came the curveballs that every homeowner, especially retirees, knows all too well. A leaking roof, a property tax hike, and car repairs that never come at a convenient time. They left their retirement accounts untouched because they feared that any withdrawals would increase their taxable earnings, and of course they would. Stress turned to anxiety, and even though they were quote-unquote wealthy on paper, they were struggling just to breathe financially. But before we continue, I want to thank each and every one of you for liking and sharing these videos. It really does help our YouTube channel, so please consider subscribing so you never miss out on our latest episodes. And speaking of subscribing, please subscribe to HeckhamWorld.com for all the latest reverse mortgage commentary and analysis. So, Carl and Denise met with their financial advisor, who finally helped them see what it is they were missing. It wasn't about how much they had saved for retirement. It was about how much they could actually tap into. The advisor rightly focused on liquidity, or the lack thereof. And their wealth was all tied up. They were asset rich, but ended up being cash poor in retirement, a phrase that describes far too many Americans today, even amongst the so-called, yes, mass affluent retiree. Think about it. A paid-off home, it sounds like freedom, but it's not liquid. It doesn't pay for groceries, increasing property taxes, or medical expenses unless you sell it, refinance it, or strategically tap into the equity. And for retirees who do want to stay put, who love their home and their community, selling isn't an option. So after they met with their advisor, they began to focus on some practical ways that they could reduce their monthly expenditures and have access to cash when needed. First, they sold their RV that was sitting in the driveway unused. They canceled unnecessary subscriptions, and they even traded their newer SUV for a dependable car with lower monthly payments. And to boost their monthly income for them, Carl took a part-time job at a hardware store, and Denise began to work remotely from home, providing online administrative support. 1 year later, they reported to their advisor they had paid off a large portion of their credit card debt and also built a modest emergency fund. They also considered a reverse mortgage, but the column doesn't tell us if they ended up taking one or not. Now, while Carl and Denise were actually able to solve their cash flow issues in part by returning to work, many couples are unable to do so due to a health condition, or they may simply prefer to find another means of solving their liquidity crisis without returning to the daily grind. For many homeowners, such as Carl and Denise, a reverse mortgage should not be a last resort tool. It should be part of their strategic equity plan. Think about it this way. Their $900,000 in retirement accounts are going to be subject to taxes and perhaps market risk. Their home, on the other hand, it represents hundreds of thousands of dollars of untapped, tax-free equity. A reverse mortgage would have given them access to that wealth either in monthly payouts or a line of credit without forcing them to sell their home or even touching their retirement nest egg. Now, this story, it underscores the importance of you as a reverse mortgage professional to continue building relationships with financial advisors who likely have clients facing a similar challenge as this couple. And that may help avoid the necessity of those clients returning to work or taking excessive withdrawals from their retirement accounts. So what are your thoughts? Leave those in the comment section below, especially about reaching out to Mass Affluent retirees who do have retirement problems themselves. Be sure to also share this on your LinkedIn network if you'd be so kind. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe. That way you never miss any of our episodes. And if you want to catch up on your most recent reverse mortgage news, you can do that by simply listening or watching to our weekly podcast, Peckham World Weekly. You can do that by subscribing on Apple Music or Spotify, or you can watch it here at peckhamworld.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and be sure to return next week for more reverse mortgage news, commentary, and analysis you'll only find right here at Peckham World. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.